Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah, chapter 34. This word came to Yirmiyahu from Adonai when Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, his whole army, all his vassal kingdoms, and all the peoples fought against Jerusalem and all its cities. Adonai, the God of Israel, says to go and speak to Zedekiah, king of Yehuda. Tell him that Adonai says, I am going to hand this city over to the king of Babel, and he will burn it to the ground. You will not escape, but will surely be captured and handed over to him. Your eyes will see the eyes of the king of Babel. He will speak with you face to face, and you will go to Babel. Nevertheless, Zedekiah, king of Yehuda, hear the word of Adonai. Adonai says this about you. You will not be put to the sword, but will die peacefully. And just as they burned spices for your ancestors, the earlier kings who preceded you, so they will burn spices for you and mourn you. O Master, for I have spoken the word, says Adonai. Yirmiyahu, the prophet, said all these words to Zedekiah, king of Yehuda and Jerusalem, at the time when the king of Babel's army was fighting against Jerusalem and against all the cities of Yehuda that were left, that is, against Lachish and Azekah, since only those remained of the fortified cities of Yehuda. This word came to Yirmiyahu from Adonai after King Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people in Jerusalem to emancipate them. Everyone who had a male or female slave who was Hebrew was to let him go free. None was to keep as his slave a fellow Jew. All the leaders and all the people listened who had entered into the covenant, wherein everyone was to free his male and female slaves and not keep them in bondage any longer. They listened and they let them go. But afterwards they changed their minds. They made the male and female slaves, whom they had freed, return, and they brought them back into subjection as slaves. Therefore, this word of Adonai came to Yirmiyahu from Adonai. Here's what Adonai, the God of Israel, says. When I brought your ancestors out of the land of Egypt, where they lived as slaves, I made this covenant with them. At the end of 7 years, every one of you is to set free his brother Hebrew, who has been sold to you and has served you 6 years. You are to let him go free from you. But your ancestors did not listen to me or pay any attention. Now you repented. You did what is right from my viewpoint, when each of you proclaimed freedom to his fellow, and you made a covenant before me in the house bearing my name. But then you changed your minds. You profaned my name when each of you took back his male and female slaves, whom you had set free to live as they wished, and brought them back into subjection as your slaves. Therefore, here's what Adonai says. You did not heed me and proclaim freedom, each to his brother and each to his neighbor. So now I proclaim for you a freedom, says Adonai, for sword, plague, and famine. I will make you an object of horror to all the kingdoms on earth. As for the men who violated my covenant by not living up to the conditions of the covenant, which they made in my presence when they cut the calf in two and passed between its parts, the leaders of Yehuda, the leaders of Jerusalem, the officials, the Kohanim, priests, and all the people of the land who passed between the parts of the calf, I will hand them over to their enemies, hand them over to those who seek their lives, and their corpses will become food for birds in the air and wild animals. Zedekiah, king of Yehuda, and his officials I will hand over to their enemies, to those who seek their lives, and to the army of the king of Babel, which has withdrawn. I will give the order, says Adonai, and cause them to return to the city. They will attack it, capture it, and burn it to the ground, and I will make the cities of Yehuda desolate and uninhabited.